gentle, soothing tone, take a deep breath. Imagine for a moment that you are resting in a quiet, peaceful room, the light of a soft, flickering fire casting warmth over everything. The air around you is cool, fresh, and calm. You can feel the weight of the day easing away from your body, and with each breath, you are letting go of any tension or stress. Each exhale feels like the wind gently sweeping away your thoughts. Now, allow your body to sink deeper into relaxation. Feel the soft surface beneath you supporting your every curve, and let your limbs grow heavy with the soothing quiet. With each breath in, breathe in calmness, peace, and serenity, and with each breath out, feel your body grow softer, lighter, like the evening breeze flowing across a still meadow. As you continue to relax, let your mind drift gently, like a leaf floating down a slow-moving stream. With each passing second, you feel more and more at ease, more and more in tune with the stillness around you. The air is still, save for the soft rustle of leaves in the distance. The world is slowing down around you, inviting you into a peaceful, sleepy embrace. And now, I invite you to stay in this calm space as we begin our story. Our story today begins in a village nestled gently within the rolling hills. There was a humble weaver. Her little cottage sat at the edge of the village, surrounded by a garden of wildflowers that bloomed with the soft colors of lavender, buttercup, and thyme. The stone walls of her home were covered with climbing ivy, and there was always the pleasant, earthy scent of the woods and meadows surrounding her. It was a peaceful village, quiet and serene, where the hustle of life seemed to slow down as if the world itself was taking a nap. The villagers often spoke in whispers, their voices carrying with the soft breeze that drifted through the trees, as if the land itself was listening and responding to their words. But it was the weaver who truly held the heart of the village. People spoke of her loom not just as a tool for weaving cloth, but as something magical, a vessel through which stories were woven into the very fabric of the land itself. She had inherited her craft from her grandmother, who had learned it from her great-grandmother, and so on. It was said that the skill of weaving, passed down through generations, was more than just a tradition. The loom itself was a keeper of memories, of tales, of whispered legends that danced through time like the wind that stirred the village's trees. At dawn, the weaver would sit before her loom, her hands steady and sure as they moved with rhythmic grace. The soft shuttle glided over the threads, pulling them gently through the fabric, and with each motion, a new stitch was created, a stitch that held more than just thread. With each pass of the shuttle, she would hum a soft lilting tune. The melody was like a breath of wind through the leaves, a soft sound that seemed to make the air shimmer with warmth. Sometimes she would pause to listen, whether it was the wind in the trees or the far-off songs of birds. It was almost as if the land itself was speaking through the rhythm of her weaving. The villagers would often walk past her cottage on their way to the market, the sound of her loom weaving its way through the stillness of the air. Some said that the stories she wove were not just for the eyes of the village, but for the earth itself, as if each thread held the voice of an ancestor, a memory, a piece of the past that was alive once again. The weaver's most special work, however, was reserved for the long, quiet nights, when the moonlight bathed the village in a soft glow. During those hours, she would weave the stories of the village itself into her cloth. Stories of love, of loss, of heroes and villagers, of those who had come before and those yet to be born. It was said that each pattern she wove into the fabric held a deeper meaning, a message that only those attuned to the land could understand. The villagers, in their gentle way, believed that her loom was an ancient tool, not simply a means of creating cloth, but a way to record the very essence of life itself. Pause. Let the listener sink deeper into the atmosphere of the story, feel the quiet, peaceful nature of the village setting. The weaver's cottage was warm and inviting, with the soft crackling of the hearth filling the space with a cozy glow. The firelight danced gently across the walls, casting flickering shadows that seemed to come alive. The weaver's hands moved with purpose, their rhythm so steady that it was like listening to the heartbeat of the earth. Sometimes as she worked, the wind would carry the soft scent of pine and earth through the open window, filling the room with a fresh, calming breeze. Outside, the soft rustling of the leaves seemed to speak in gentle whispers, as if the trees themselves were telling tales of old. On nights like these, when the world was at its most still, the weaver would often speak aloud, softly, to the loom. She would tell it stories of the villagers' lives, of moments long past and of those yet to come. She spoke in hushed tones, almost as though she was afraid the wind would carry her words away if she spoke too loudly. Her most treasured stories were those she wove for the children of the village. On special evenings, she would invite them into her cottage, and as they sat before her hearth, she would tell them stories of distant lands, of enchanted forests and brave knights, of mythical creatures and great adventures. But no matter how fantastical the story was, there was always one thing that remained the same. The land, the fabric, the very earth beneath their feet, held a memory of each tale, like a gentle echo that could be felt even in the quietest of moments. It was said that if one listened closely enough, they could hear the threads of the past weaving their way through the soft hum of the loom. As the children listened, they would feel their eyelids grow heavy, the warmth of the fire and the soothing sound of the loom lulling them into a state of peaceful relaxation. The stories, once so vivid and lively, would slowly blur and melt into dreams. Each tale, each memory, seemed to weave them deeper into the comfort of sleep. Soft pause, gentle voice. Take a moment now, dear listener, and let the soft hum of the loom, the warm fire, and the gentle breeze guide you deeper into your own peaceful place. Let the sounds of the world fade away and just allow yourself to be here, in this moment, with the weaver. Feel your body grow lighter, your breath more even, as the weaver continues her work. With each thread she pulls, you are pulled further into relaxation, her gentle movements guiding you closer to a deep, peaceful sleep. As the evening deepens, the world outside the weaver's cottage grows quieter still. The last remnants of sunlight slip away, leaving only the soft glow of moonlight to paint the world in silvery shades. The village, nestled in the hills, is silent, save for the occasional rustle of leaves in the breeze and the gentle call of an owl in the distance. Inside, the weaver continues her work. Her loom, which had been silent for a few moments as she prepared to weave the final piece of a special tapestry, hums softly in the stillness of the night. The threads she uses are fine and delicate threads of gold and silver, of midnight blue and deep forest green. With each pass of the shuttle, the fabric seems to come alive, as if it's gently responding to her touch. Tonight she is weaving a new story. A story that has never been told before, but one that has been waiting for this very moment to be born. The story begins with a soft whisper of the wind. The weaver speaks aloud as her hands move deftly over the threads, guiding the shuttle back and forth. Long ago there was a bird, she says softly. A bird with feathers as bright as the sun and a song so sweet that it could make the trees dance. As she weaves, the story begins to take shape in the fabric, each thread a line in the tale, each stitch a moment in time. The fabric grows thicker, richer, with the bird's story unfolding in vibrant colors. The bird soars high above the village, flying across valleys, over sparkling streams, and through misty forests. Its wings shimmer in the sun as it sings its song, and with each note, the trees sway, the flowers bloom, and the winds themselves seem to dance along with the melody. The weaver's voice becomes quieter now, blending with the soft sound of the loom and the gentle rustle of the fire as it crackles in the hearth. And the bird sang not for itself, she continues, her voice a mere murmur, but for the village below, so that every heart might be touched, every spirit lifted. The bird song, she says, would drift down to the villagers each morning, carried by the morning breeze, soft and sweet. The people would stop their work and listen, their hearts filled with a peaceful joy that carried them through the day. They would go about their tasks with lightness in their steps, as if the world itself was holding them in a gentle embrace. As the weaver speaks, the image of the bird takes shape within the fabric, its wings spread wide, its feathers catching the light. It is beautiful, delicate, and full of life, yet there is a softness to its form, as if it is woven from the very air itself. The threads shimmer and glow in the moonlight, reflecting the soft light in such a way that it almost feels as if the bird is alive, fluttering gently within the fabric. Pause for a moment to let the imagery settle. Now imagine yourself walking along a quiet path in the village. The cool night air brushing your skin, the soft glow of lanterns lighting your way. You pass by the weaver's cottage, and through the open window you can see her silhouette, seated before her loom. Her hands move in a steady rhythm, pulling the shuttle back and forth, weaving the threads of the bird's story into the tapestry. As you stand there for a moment, you feel a sense of calm wash over you. The sounds of the world seem distant, and the only thing that matters is the gentle hum of the loom, the soft flickering of the hearth, and the quiet presence of the weaver who is shaping something beautiful and eternal with each passing moment. The night deepens further, and with it, the story of the bird continues to unfold. The bird flies higher and higher, soaring above the clouds, reaching toward the stars. The weaver's hands move gracefully, the threads gliding effortlessly over the loom. The fabric becomes more intricate, the design growing more detailed with each stitch, each passing breath of wind. The bird had flown far, the weaver murmurs, but it had never forgotten the village below. No matter how high it soared, it always returned, its wings tired but its heart full of joy. The bird's journey reflects the cycle of life, an eternal rhythm of soaring and returning, of moving forward and coming home. The weaver's hands pause for a moment as she reflects on the deeper meaning of her work. She doesn't need to speak aloud for the story to continue. The loom seems to hum on its own, its rhythm continuing in the quiet space between the flickering firelight and the soft wind outside. Pause, and let the imagery continue to settle softly into the mind. Outside, the village sleeps, each home tucked in under a blanket of quiet. The wind stills for a moment, as if listening, and for a moment, everything seems to hold its breath. Inside, the weaver continues, her voice barely more than a whisper now. The bird knew that no matter how far it traveled, the village and its people would always be part of it. It carried them in its heart with each beat of its wings. As she finishes speaking, the weaver gently pulls the last thread through the fabric, and the story of the bird is complete. The tapestry is finished, its colors rich, its texture soft and full of life. It is a story not just told in words, but one woven into the very fabric of the village, of the land itself. The story will live on, carried by the threads, whispered by the winds, and remembered by all who pass by. Pause again, let the listener settle into the stillness. And now, as the weaver finishes her work, the air around her grows even quieter. The fire crackles softly in the hearth, casting its warm glow over the room. The moonlight outside grows softer, the stars flickering like tiny candles in the sky. The night is peaceful, serene, and full of quiet wonder. Take a deep breath, dear listener, and allow yourself to feel the peaceful calm of the weaver's world. Let the story of the bird, of the village, and of the loom wrap around you like a warm blanket, holding you in a gentle embrace. You can feel the weight of the day slipping away now, and as the weaver's hands rest, the soft rhythm of the loom fades into the stillness of the night. And with that, dear listener, we leave the weaver to her work and let the quiet beauty of the village fill our hearts. Feel the peacefulness that surrounds you and know that you are safe, resting here in this tranquil world. Our story folds open again on the softest of nights, a night where the air hangs in a cool, silvery blue mist that hugs the hills and glides over the rooftops like a drifting whisper. Lanterns sway gently on iron hooks beside cottage doors, their light shimmering in small golden circles that flicker against the dark stone paths, and the village breathes out a long, peaceful sigh, as though it, too, is settling deeper into dreams. Inside her cottage, the weaver has finished the tapestry of the bird, but her night is not yet done. She sits quietly before the hearth, her hands resting gently on her lap, her breathing slow. The soft glow of the embers warms her face, and the shadows of the room shift like slumbering clouds, moving slowly with each crackle of firewood. She closes her eyes, because this is a special moment, one she knows well. Whenever she finishes weaving a story, there is a hush, a pause, a moment of quiet magic when the tapestry itself settles into the world. Tonight is one of those nights. The tapestry lies across her work table, shimmering faintly under the moonlight that drifts through the window. The bird, woven in golds and deep blues, seems to stir as though the light brushing its wings is awakening it from a long and gentle slumber. The weaver listens. She doesn't move, but she listens. For the old stories say that when a tapestry is complete, the threads whisper, not with words, but with a presence, like a breath of memory released into the world. And sure enough, the room begins to hum softly, subtly, almost imperceptibly. Like the faint vibration of a plucked lute string or the soft purring of a contented creature settling down to rest, the tapestry glows just for a heartbeat. Then the glow fades and everything is still. The weaver smiles softly, as though greeting an old friend. She knows the bird's story has now joined all the stories woven before it, becoming part of the land, The hills, the wind that drifts through the village lanes. The bird's flight will be felt in the songs sung by morning birds, in the joyful chatter of children, and in the warm hush of nights just like this one. The weaver gently folds the tapestry, her fingers brushing lightly against the threads, and sets it aside. Tomorrow the villagers will come. They will gather around and admire the piece, each person finding a different meaning in the woven shapes, because that is the quiet magic of a tapestry. It never tells just one story. It speaks differently to every heart that sees it. Outside, the wind stirs again. Leaves rustle softly, moving like a quiet wave across the meadows. The sound is calming, rhythmic, like the whisper of fabric being pulled gently through fingertips. You walk through the village paths now, imagining yourself under the soft lantern glow. The air is cool, and as you breathe it in, it carries the fresh scent of dew settling over grass and wildflowers. Each step feels gentle, like walking on memory, on threads laid down long before you arrived. A cat curls up on a warm doorstep, its tail wrapped neatly around its paws. It blinks slowly at you, as if offering a sleepy greeting, then tucks its head down and drifts deeper into dreams. The whole village is in harmony tonight, as if everyone and everything is wrapped in the same serene fabric. You approach the weaver's cottage again and hear her humming soft, slow, distant. Her voice is like the lingering warmth of a candle that has just been blown out, gentle, warm, almost glowing in its softness. The melody doesn't have a clear beginning or ending. It loops like a lullaby whispered by the wind. And the tune settles into you, loosening your shoulders, softening your breath, letting your whole body release even more deeply. You step closer. Through the open window, you see the weaver standing, lifting the tapestry with reverence. She holds it up toward the moonlight, and the fabric glows faintly, shifting between shadow and shimmer, as though the bird inside might take flight at any moment. She carries the tapestry to a wooden chest in the corner of the room. The chest is old, carved with winding patterns of vines, leaves, and stars. Its hinges creak softly as she opens it, and inside lie many folded tapestries, stories upon stories, each one woven by hands that stretch back through time. She places the new tapestry atop the others, smoothing its edges gently. When the chest closes, the cottage grows quieter still, as though every story inside has settled back into its deep, peaceful rest. The weaver turns and sits again before her loom. She doesn't begin a new tapestry. Instead, she simply lays her hands on the wooden frame, feeling the grooves in the wood, the threads waiting patiently for their next story. She closes her eyes again and breathes deeply, letting the night wind drift in through the window. The loom, silent but alive, seems to hum beneath her fingertips. Its wood is warm from years of touch, its threads soft and ready. But the weaver isn't thinking of the next story yet. No, tonight she is simply resting with the presence of the ones she has already brought into the world. And in that peaceful stillness, you too feel yourself resting. Resting in the soft glow of the cottage hearth. Resting in the whisper of leaves. Resting in the memory of the bird's flight. Resting in the quiet magic of threads woven with love. Slowly, softly, the night deepens. The stars gather overhead, brighter now, scattered like tiny sparks of silver across the velvety sky. Their light is gentle, comforting. One star, just above the weaver's cottage, seems to flicker in a slow, rhythmic pulse, almost like it's breathing with the world below. The air outside cools just a little more, and somewhere in the distance, a brook murmurs softly as it winds its way through the village. Its waters flow with a soothing sound, steady, calming, like fingers brushing lightly over smooth stones. The whole night is a lullaby, and in its embrace, you drift deeper and deeper into peaceful relaxation. And now, as the story settles into this quiet stillness, before we drift deeper, breathe gently in and out, letting every word draw you further into stillness, letting your body melt a little more, letting your mind follow the weave of the story as though you too are made of soft, shimmering thread. And now, we return to the village of whispering threads. Script Part 4, approximately 1,000 words. The night continues its tender descent over the village, wrapping every rooftop, every winding path, every slumbering home in silver blue calm. In the cool hush, the faint scent of lavender and fresh loam drifts through the air, carried from the hillside gardens that bloom under the moon's gentle watch. In the weaver's cottage, the hearth burns low now, its last embers glowing like tiny rubies cradled in ash. The warmth radiates in slow waves, each one softening the air and melting into the wooden walls. Shadows deepen but feel comforting, like the smooth interior of a shell. The weaver sits still, her eyes halfway closed, her breathing deep and serene. Though her loom rests quietly, there is something alive in the air, a sense of presence, of stories rustling in the spaces between breaths. And then, she lifts her head, as though sensing something subtle and familiar. A gentle tapping, barely audible, comes from the cottage door. It's so soft that it might have been mistaken for a drifting branch brushing the window, or perhaps for the heartbeat of the night itself. But the weaver knows this sound, has known it for years. She stands, her limbs moving slowly, gracefully, the way one moves in a dream. She goes to the door and opens it just enough for the cool night air to spill in like a soft sigh. Standing there, wrapped in a cloak the color of moss and deep forest green, is an old friend. His name is Aldrich, one of the oldest villagers, a man with hair the color of moonlit stone and eyes as gentle as morning mist. He carries a lantern in one hand, though the flame within is low, flickering as though trying to stay awake. "Good evening," he whispers, his voice hushed so as not to disturb the night. The weaver smiles. "Good evening, Aldrich." The fire still burns. "Come in and warm yourself." He steps inside, closing the door softly behind him. His lantern bobbles slightly, casting soft circles of light across the cottage floor as he crosses to the hearth. He settles on a low wooden stool, warming his hands near the embers. For a moment the two sit in comfortable silence, an old, familiar silence woven through with years of friendship, stories shared, and quiet understanding. Aldrich finally speaks, his voice gentle, as though sliding through layers of stillness. "I felt the wind change tonight," he says. "Felt the threads shift." "You've woven something new." The weaver nods. "A bird, one of gold and blue. Its story came to me in the hours after sunset. I couldn't rest until the tapestry was complete." Aldrich smiles, the lines on his face softening with warmth. "I could feel it, even from my home, like a song rising in the air." They share a soft, knowing look. For in this village, the stories woven into thread are never just cloth, they are living things. And those who have lived long enough within these hills can sense them, feel their presence settle into the earth. The weaver lifts a pot from beside the hearth and pours warm herbal tea into two carved wooden cups. The steam curls upward like delicate fingers, carrying the scent of chamomile and mint. The two sip quietly, letting the warmth slip into their bodies, letting the hush of the room cradle them. After a few moments, Aldrich's eyes drift toward the wooden chest, the one where the weaver stores her tapestries. "You know," he murmurs, "I don't come to see you only to admire the stories you weave, though I treasure each one. I come because this cottage, this loom, the warmth of your fire, it all feels like a place between worlds." He breathes out softly. "A place where the waking and the dreaming meet." The weaver nods again, her expression serene. "That is the gift of stories, Aldrich. They are bridges woven from memory, song, breath. They carry us gently from one place to the next." Aldrich closes his eyes, letting the warmth, the quiet, the presence of the weaver ease him. His shoulders lower, his breath deepens. He looks younger, like the centuries of stories he carries have loosened their hold on him for a moment. The fire crackles faintly. Outside, a soft breeze brushes against the cottage like fingertips on silk. The night hums with peace. And then, the weaver rises slowly, retrieving the freshly folded tapestry from where she placed it earlier. She carries it with both hands, her touch reverent. She brings it to Aldrich and rests it beside him. He looks down at the bird woven into the cloth. Its wings seem mid-flight, shimmering in the dim light. The tapestry feels warm, almost alive. Aldrich exhales in awe. "It's beautiful," he whispers. "It feels like I can hear the air moving through its wings." The weaver sits beside him, her voice soft. "The story is yours to interpret. That is how it has always been." Aldrich nods slowly. "I see hope in it," he says. "A reminder that even when we wander far, even when life carries us through storms and valleys, we can always return. There is always a place that remembers us." The weaver's hand rests softly on his arm. "Yes," she whispers. "Always." A long, tranquil pause fills the room. The kind of pause that doesn't need words. The kind that holds warmth, understanding, and restful quiet. Aldrich eventually stands, holding the tapestry carefully. His lantern flame dances softly, casting slow-moving shadows across the cottage. "Thank you," he murmurs. "Be well, Aldrich," the weaver whispers. He steps out into the cool night, closing the door gently behind him. The lantern's glow drifts down the path, slowly fading into the mist, until it becomes just another small, comforting light among the many that shimmer in the sleeping village. The weaver stands at her window, watching until he disappears into the silver-blue dark. Then she returns to her loom. She touches it lightly, her fingertips brushing the smooth wooden frame, feeling the quiet strength within it. The threads vibrate softly, like the faint breath of a memory. She smiles, as tender as moonlight on still water. And in the hush of that quiet moment, you too feel the warmth of the cottage, the softness of the night air, the shimmering presence of the tapestry, and the deep, soothing rhythm of the world beginning to dream. The night deepens, the air softens, your breath slows, and the story continues to unwind its gentle threads around you. The weaver stands alone in her cottage now, the hush of Aldrich's visit lingering like a warm echo. Outside, the night is at its most serene, the deep, velvety blue of the sky stretching endlessly overhead. The stars shimmer faintly, their lights soft and diffused through a thin veil of drifting mist. She moves slowly back to her loom, fingertips brushing along its wooden surface. The loom hums faintly beneath her touch, as though whispering its own quiet story. It is more than just a tool. It is a companion, a keeper of memories, a bridge between the tangible and the unseen. The weaver sits, letting her breath match the slow rhythm of the wind outside. Though she has finished tonight's tapestry, she rarely leaves her loom until she feels the land has fully settled, until the last threads of magic from her story have woven themselves into the world. Tonight, however, something feels different. She can sense it deep in her chest, in the air around her, in the tremble of the threads, a softness, a pull, a quiet invitation from the night itself. So she closes her eyes and listens. The crackle of the fire, the distant murmur of the brook, the whisper of the wind threading itself through leaves, and beneath it all, something else. A faint, melodic hum, gentle, shimmering, like a lullaby carried from far away. The weaver's lips curve into a peaceful smile. She knows that sound. She's heard it before. It is the call of the threads, the voice that speaks not in words, but in feeling, in warmth, in memory. The voice that nudges her toward the next story, the next tapestry, the next whispered echo in the ever-growing fabric of the village. She breathes in deeply, letting that humming presence fill her, letting it drift through her like warm smoke. And then, a soft knock touches her door. It is even quieter than Aldrich's knock, so faint that she wonders if she imagined it. But then it comes again, gentle, hesitant, like fingertips tapping lightly on hollow wood. The weaver stands and walks slowly to the door. She pulls it open with care. There, standing in the moonlight, is a child. A small girl, no more than 7, with dark curls that fall softly around her face. She wears a simple woolen cloak, the edges frayed from many adventures through the village fields. In her hands she clutches something wrapped in a scrap of linen. Her eyes wide, deep, and full of the shimmering wonder that only children hold lift to the weavers. "Good evening," the girl whispers, barely audible. I'm sorry to come so late." The weaver kneels so she can meet the girl's gaze. "There is no need to apologize," she murmurs. "The threads brought you here. Come in, little one." The girl steps into the warmth of the cottage, her small frame relaxing as the soft heat of the hearth wraps around her. She glances shyly at the loom, at the wooden chest of tapestries, at the gentle glow of embers sinking deeper into the ashes. "What brings you here at this hour?" the weaver asks, her voice as soft as the drifting breeze. The girl unfolds the piece of linen she carries. Inside is a scrap of cloth. Just a small piece roughly woven, frayed at the edges, but clearly made with care. The patterns stitched onto the cloth are uneven, the colors slightly mismatched, but the design shines with heartfelt intention. A small shape, maybe a star, maybe a flower, rests at the center, its form imperfect but full of life. "It was my mother's," the girl whispers, eyes lowering. "She taught me to stitch. We made this together, but she's gone now, and I don't know how to finish it." Her voice catches only slightly, but the weaver hears the tremble beneath her words. She places a warm hand over the girl's. Your mother stitched beautifully, the weaver says gently. And so did you, the child swallows, blinking back the softness in her eyes. I wanted to make it complete. I wanted to remember her story, but the thread keeps breaking. And no matter how hard I try, I can't make the pattern come out right. The weaver lifts the cloth, studying it under the candlelight. The stitches, though uneven, hold something precious. A fragment of memory, a thread of love passed from mother to child. A beginning. She nods, her smile tender. You came to the right place, she whispers. The weaver rises and leads the girl to the loom. She sits, and the child sits beside her, watching with silent curiosity. Do you hear that? The weaver asks. The girl tilts her head. Hear what? The threads, the weaver murmurs, lowering her voice to the softest hush. They hum when a story is ready to be woven. And your mother's story, your story, is humming tonight. The girl listens. At first she hears nothing. But then, a faint vibration, soft as breath, a warm presence. A gentle thrum that feels like a heartbeat in the wooden frame. Yes, she whispers. I can. I think I can hear it. The weaver's eyes sparkle. Good, that means we can begin. She picks up a new thread, smooth, golden, shimmering faintly in the firelight. This thread, she says softly, is for memory. For what came before. She picks up another silver, soft like moonlight on water. And this thread is for what comes next. The girl's breath catches. And together, the weaver continues, they weave a story no hand can break. She places the girl's small cloth on her lap and slowly, gently begins to stitch. The child watches every movement, mesmerized. The needle glides through the fabric. The thread flows like water. The pattern shifts, grows, softens into something new. Not perfect, not matching, something better. A blend of past and present, memory and hope, mother and child. When the final stitch is drawn, a shimmer passes through the cloth, faint as moonlight rippling over a still pond. The girl gasps softly. It's beautiful, she whispers. It was always beautiful, the weaver replies. The girl hugs the cloth to her chest as though holding a heartbeat. The weaver's eyes soften. Tonight, she thinks. A story has been finished, and another has just begun. The fire dims. The threads quiet, the child drifts into peace. And the night deepens into stillness. The little girl sits quietly beside the weaver, clutching the finished cloth as if it were the last warm ember of a fading fire. Her small fingers run over the threads again and again, as though she can feel her mother's hands stitched into each loop, each curve, each softened pattern of gold and silver. The weaver watches her with a gentle, patient smile, the kind of smile that carries generations of tenderness in its corners. She places a soft hand on the girl's shoulder. You may stay until you're ready, she whispers. There is no need to rush home in the dark. The child nods, her eyelids dipping into slow, heavy blinks. She tucks the cloth safely into her cloak and leans back slightly, letting the glow of the embers warm her cheeks. Her breathing begins to slow, deepen, settle into that quiet rhythm children fall into when sleep is close, but not quite there. The weaver stands, moving silently to the small window overlooking the village paths. She unlatches the wooden frame just enough to let in a cool ribbon of night air. It spreads through the room like a soft sigh, carrying with it the gentle fragrance of night-blooming jasmine, dew-kissed grass, and wood smoke drifting lazily from distant cottages. Outside, the village is a quilt of shadows and pale silver light. The moon hangs low over the hills, round and luminous, turning the rolling landscape into something soft and dreamlike. A fox trots along the path near the well, pausing only to look up, as if sensing something in the stillness, then slips away. The weaver listens to the night, her senses attuned to its gentle chorus. The brook murmurs softly in the distance, like an old friend whispering secrets to the stones. Leaves rustle in slow, sleepy movements. An owl, a wise sentinel of the dark, utters a single low call from its perch. Everything is quiet. Everything is calm. Everything is wrapped in the soft hum of dreams. The weaver returns to her loom, sitting with her back straight, her hands resting lightly on her knees. She feels the threads vibrating ever so subtly beneath the surface, like the faint pulse of the world itself. But tonight, she does not begin weaving. Tonight, she simply sits and listens. After a few long moments, she speaks aloud, not to the girl who is drifting towards sleep, not to the loom, but to the night itself. Every story, she murmurs softly, has a place to land. Her voice is tender, carrying the weight of countless tales. And every thread, no matter how tangled or broken, finds its way back into the weave. Behind her, the girl shifts, curling into the cushioned stool, her small form illuminated by the soft orange glow of the dying fire. The shadows move around her like protective warm wings. The weaver stands once more and retrieves a woolen blanket from a wooden chest. She drapes it gently over the child's shoulders, tucking it around her with the same care one gives to something precious, like cradling a fragile memory or smoothing a dream before it slips away. The girl breathes out, long and soft. Her body relaxes, her fingers loosen their hold on the cloth, and her head tilts gently to the side as sleep finally claims her. The weaver brushes a strand of hair from the girl's forehead and whispers, "Rest now. Your story is safe." The cottage feels softer now, quieter, even more steeped in the warm glow of serenity. The weaver returns to her seat, letting her gaze drift along the room. The loom, the chest of tapestries, the shelf lined with tiny clay oil lamps, each one painted with patterns that glow faintly under the firelight. The atmosphere is thick with comfort, with history, with the presence of stories waiting to be told. And yet, through that stillness, a new sound slips in, a tiny, delicate, tinkling chime. The weaver's head lifts. She knows this sound too. She rises and goes to the window again. She leans out slightly, peering into the moonlit path. There, hanging from the porch beam, is a single silver bell, one she crafted long ago with threads of metal and magic. It never rings in the wind, not even in the strongest gusts. It rings only for one reason: someone is approaching. Not someone from the village, not someone with footsteps that tread on earth. Someone with a softer tread. A quieter presence, a story not woven yet, but arriving. The weaver's breath deepens. Her heart slows, not out of fear, but in recognition. She moves back to her seat before the loom, rests her hands lightly on the frame, and lowers her eyes in respect. And then the door opens. Not loudly. Not abruptly. The latch simply lifts itself with a slow, smooth motion, and the wooden door swings inward on a whisper of wind. A figure steps through, cloaked in mist, outlined in moonlight. Soft, shimmering, shifting as though woven of light itself. Not human. Not fully spirit, not quite story. Something in between. A guardian, a keeper, a watcher of threads. The weaver bows her head. "It has been many years," she murmurs. The figure nods, the movement causing the mist around it to ripple like silk caught in a breeze. "I felt the new tapestry," the figure says, voice barely louder than a breath. "It called me from the hills." The weaver smiles softly. As stories often do. The figure steps closer, stopping beside the loom, their form bending slightly to examine the threads, still waiting for their next tale. "You have done well," the guardian says. "The child's cloth will strengthen the weave." The weaver nods. "I only guided the thread," she whispers. The story was hers to complete. The guardian looks to the slumbering girl, their misty forms shimmering faintly with tenderness. "She will carry her mother's memory with grace," the guardian says quietly. "And the village will feel the echo of her story in time." The fire crackles softly behind them. The threads hum, and the air thickens with a gentle, reverent calm. The guardian turns back to the weaver. "There is another story coming," they whisper, "one older than the hills. One that has waited many seasons to be woven." The weaver's eyes soften. "I felt it," she murmurs, "in the wind, in the quiet hum beneath the earth." The guardian extends a hand, soft, glowing, ethereal. "Will you weave it?" they ask. The weaver places her hand gently atop theirs. "Yes," she whispers. "When the moment comes, I will." The guardian inclines their head, the mist around them swirling softly. "Then I will return when the threads are ready." They step backward, fading into moonlight, into silver mist, into the quiet between breaths. And the door closes, softly, silently, as though touched only by a dream. The cottage settles. The fire sighs, the child sleeps, the weaver breathes. And the night deepens into a soft, velvety stillness rich with the promise of stories waiting to be born.